negative, cynical world going on right now. And true enthusiasm is a breath of fresh air. And then I'm going to show you towards the end how to overcome the two biggest mistakes that I see people making online. So stay with me. Let me share with you a little bit about my story, because I do understand how terrifying it can be and how humiliating it can be to have things fail. Many years ago, as Jay shared with you, I won a national award and was honored at the White House, and that was very humbling. But before I got to the national award, I won the regional award. And when I went up to accept my award, something happened. Some little mind chatter that went through, or negative self-talk, came in, and I got so nervous. I was literally shaking. My hands and arms were shaking under the podium. My eyes looked like a deer in headlights, and my voice got really thin and reedy, which is what happens when we're nervous. I was humiliated. I was so embarrassed to put myself out there in that manner. And after it was over, I vowed that I would never let that happen again. This is long before I became a professional speaker. So I immediately got myself a coach. And I started taking courses, and I started to get better, and I started to learn, and I overcame the fears that I had. I still have nerves, but I convert that adrenaline into something positive. And I've been speaking professionally for 25 years. Imagine how you would feel if every time you got up to speak, whether it was online or in person, and you started crying. How would that feel? Not great, right? Well, I'm going to share with you now, sharing my screen. I want to share with you, can you see this? You can overcome anything. Everybody see that? This wonderful woman, Dawn. Dawn is a phenomenal lady. She owns two businesses, a chiropractic firm and a Simply Natural potions and products. And she is so filled with joy and life. But when she got up to speak, tears streaming down her face every single time. That would undercut your authority, wouldn't it? So we had to really get to the bottom of what was causing the tears, which we did. And I gave her some tools and techniques and strategies so that she could present herself with confidence. And today, every time she gets up with a smile, coming from a place inside of her deeply connected to her why, deeply connected to that part of her that knows she has value to offer, and that she's denying people the privilege of tapping into that value if she doesn't share. And so she's a confident, wonderful speaker, and she's come a long, long way. But you know, even people who speak regularly work on themselves and want to get better. I live in Florida, and those of you who may be in the region may hear different anchor people on the news. And Melanie Lawson is an anchor woman in the morning on the top rated network in the Northern Florida region. And she came to me because she knew she could be better. She knew she could go to the next level. And so we worked a great deal on her storytelling. We worked on her vocal variety. And most of all, we worked on the way that she presented when she gave a speech, because she used to have tons and tons of note cards, 3x5 note cards. You don't want to do that. Ideally, you're going to become so good that you're not going to need notes at all. And there are memory tricks and techniques that I can share with you that I taught her. But for now, we're talking about speaking online, and I've got a very cool technique in just a minute that I'll show you about how to speak online and not use your traditional notes. So I'm sure that Jay told you this before you came in, but if you don't have paper and pen, you're going to want to have that. And turn off your other browsers. I know sometimes listening to a summit, you can be checking your email. You're going to miss out on some things. So stay focused. You have great gifts to share. You do. Every single one of you was put on the planet because of your gifts. You are rare, and you are an expert in things you don't even know you're an expert in. There are so many people waiting for what you have to offer. You just have to tap into that. So I know this one will make you laugh because it made me laugh. This is how most of us feel about Zoom meetings when it's audio only, the little dog who has his hair is sticking up everywhere, or with video and the little dog is in perfect pink, the hair is groomed. Everything is there, got makeup on, you're set up. And I know a lot of you who are now in non-video mode are doing this because you're like the dog on the left today. That's okay. We love you anyway. And believe me, I've been there. I'm on a lot of Zoom calls, so I understand. But when you're presenting your expertise and you're on a Zoom meeting, you want to be like the dog in pink. You want to be looking your best. So we're going to talk about setting yourself up for success. For women, you want to be in clothes that are professional. Now, Louisa, you had talked about aerobics. And so in your case, if you're teaching aerobics online, you're going to want to be in aerobic attire. But for most of the rest of us who might be presenting on business topics when you're coaching and you're speaking, you want to be dressed professionally. And I always recommend that you dress a little bit better than your audience because you're the expert and you want to show them that. I have a television show. I've had a TV show for 2 years, and I learned a lot about being on TV, and I tapped into my network. And so Melanie, my anchor woman friend, I said, give me some tips and tools about being on TV. And she taught me some things that apply to being online too. The first one is jewelry. You will notice if you look closely here that I have a flat gold chain on. Instead of what I normally wear and I'm on my personal life, which is a thin chain with a pendant, pendants can move and shift and nobody's going to tell you that. So you want something flat. You want earrings that have a little sparkle to them because they will draw the eye to your face. For men, for Satif and other men who might be watching, you want to have a collared shirt. And if it's depending on the audience, you may need a tie, you may need a jacket. It depends on who you're speaking to. You don't want, and this is true for men and women, no stripes, plaids, prints, because those can all develop a moire pattern on the screen. So ideally, it's a solid color shirt. And it's a solid color for you women. Now, virtual backgrounds. I have this beautiful conference room, right? It's a virtual background. It's a stock photo that I bought, and I put my logo up in the back where there would be a screen. But here's the thing about this virtual background. My green screen is actually blue. The green screen is the piece of fabric you have to put up to project your virtual background against, which means I can never, ever wear blue or green when I'm on my green screen. Did you know that? If I did that, I would disappear except for my face. So you have to make sure that you wear clothes that are compatible with your green screen. Just a little tip there. Always go on Zoom or whatever platform you're using early by yourself and test the screen. You can test video and you can test audio. Always go on early and test it. Test your mic, test your audio. The number one key to getting over nerves and to being effective online: preparation. Preparation. Practice and preparation. You prepare your video, you prepare your green screen, you prepare whatever PowerPoint you're going to share, you prepare your body, mind, and spirit, and you get yourself prepared so that you know how to handle things. Jay and I came on early today to make sure the audio worked, the video worked, and everything was clear and clean. Preparation. Turn off phones. Turn off notifications on your computer that beep. Turn off anything that could interfere. We've all seen that poor, I believe he was British, that poor expert who is being interviewed and his little girl waddles in and says, "Hi, Daddy," while he's on global television. And his mother comes in and grabs, or her mother comes in and grabs her. That's embarrassing. But it also undercuts your credibility. I know many of you are working from home with children at home. Handle that. Ask someone else to babysit or handle that while you're on. I have 2 cats. They are sequestered in my husband's office right now because they love to just walk across the screen. And so dogs barking can interfere. And one of the most offensive things you can do when you're online is to eat in front of other people. Nobody wants to see your mouth while you're chewing food. I have seen all of these things, so that's why I'm sharing them with you. So do me a favor right now in your chat. I would love to know, tell me of these things, what is it that you so far have learned that you're going to be able to apply? Just tell me what you have learned and what it is. And yes, we are being recorded, so you will have everything we're saying here if you need to listen again. So what is it that you are going to apply? Are you going to apply the way you change your clothing? Type it into the chat room for me, if you would. What is it that you're going to apply? How can you set yourself up for success? All are important, yes. Simple steps that can be implemented. Yes, being professional, being prepared. No stripes, good one. Okay, good awarenesses. Excellent, thank you. So I want to go on to the next part about how you can, in fact, be effective on Zoom. Zoom is the platform that the vast majority of people are using, although there's GoToMeeting, WebEx, Teams, but most of these tips apply to all of them. On Zoom, you need the right light. And that might mean you have ring lights. It might mean you have light ahead. You never want light behind you because that will interfere with people to be able to see you. I had a woman from Italy that I was coaching whose camera was set up in such a way she was sitting in front of a window and the window light from behind her blocked me from being able to see her face. So the right lighting, and the only way you'll know what's right is you got to test it. Record yourself on Zoom, just you and yourself, and test it. Practice your voice, practice the lighting, practice different things there. Look into your camera. If you have a webcam or if you're looking at the camera on your computer, look at it and stand up. That's what I'm doing right now. I've been standing up for the past hour. Do you want to know why? Because when you are sitting, you're collapsing in and you're collapsing your lungs and your oxygen. You need all that oxygen. You want to be breathing from your diaphragm. So stand up to speak and tape off your floor. My floor is taped because if I get too close to my computer, my eyes become alien eyes. So tape off your floor with some masking tape to know exactly where you want to be. Make sure your video is on and you mute all participants. You can unmute them as you need them. Use a password or else you'll be in big trouble, because there have been people hacking in to Zoom meetings, sometimes with pornography. You would never want your credibility to be undercut that way. I know Jay used a waiting room here, and you can do that. It does take a little bit of distraction because you have to take the time to let people in the waiting room. But make sure you use a password and keep yourself safe. Enable chat. You want to know what people are saying. And I've talked to you already about the virtual background. Let's do a little bit of vocal exercise here. I would like everybody, if you can, and we'll unmute for a minute, Jay, if you can unmute folks, that would be great. Everybody can unmute themselves. If you can stand up, that's ideal, because you're going to get maximum value from this. And it's okay, I'll see your tummy, that's all right. So most of us constrict our voice when we are nervous. And so here's how you prepare your voice before you speak. We're going to do a series of vocal exercises, and if any of you are singers, you might know this. So repeat after me, please. Ma, 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 ma. Ma, 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 ma. Good. One more time. Ma, 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 ma. Ma, 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 ma. Excellent. Then try this one. Gug, 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 gug. G-U-G. Gug. Gug, 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 gug. One more time. Gug. Gug, 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 gug.
Gug, 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 gug.
Good. And then this one, put your hand at the base of your throat where you can feel your vocal cords when you're talking. And go, It's awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You can sit down and mute yourself again. I appreciate it. The is particularly important when you are about to start, because you tend to be higher in pitch when you're nervous. So gets you back to your normal, natural pitch and tone of voice. Vocal variety is one of the most important things you can do online. I have a client who is a fireball. She is just so filled with energy and passion, and she talks like this all the time, and no audience ever has a chance to take a breath. You've got to have ups and downs. You've got to have vocal variety. This client, Lakeisha, is an assistant sheriff, and she had, sadly, a terrible background. She suffered sexual abuse, and then later in her life, domestic abuse. And she was going to be speaking to a large group of prominent women, and she came to me for coaching on her story. She told her story very flat like this, very slow and very quiet. And nobody could hear her, and there was no emotion. And part of that is because the emotion of her story was painful. But if you want to bring people along on the journey, you've got to tap into those emotions. And so we did. And she shared her story. She shared the pain of it, but then she came out and shared the hope. and she got a standing ovation. She's an extraordinary woman. So vocal variety, using different tones of voice, is going to make all the difference. Here's a couple of don'ts of virtual presenting, and here's my secret for you of not having 3x5 cards and all those notes when you're online. This is called a laptop fan. And it is one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen. I learned about it from a woman named Juliet Funt, who's another speaker in National Speakers Association in the US. And basically you put your key points in a fan around your laptop. And that way you don't ever have to look down at your notes or be reading anything. You want to engage in your audience. You want to see them. And if you've got a laptop fan, the key words will help you go from there. Never wing it. Wing it means just speak off the fly. No, don't do that. Prepare and practice. One of my other clients would just, about an hour before her speech, jot some thoughts down. No, 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 no. You got to practice. You got to prepare. I like people to practice the overall speech at least 3 to 5 times before they give it. Now, you don't memorize your speech, because if you lose your place, you're in big trouble. And people can tell when you've memorized something. So what you want to do is you want to have these notes, if you must, around your screen. You want to practice, you want to speak standing up, and you want to give the maximum value that you can get. I'd like everybody here for just a moment to pause. And I want you to imagine, close your eyes for just a second. I know some of you are moving, so just if you can stop, close your eyes for just a second. I want you to imagine yourself 6 months from now. And I want you to see yourself as though you were watching a movie screen. And you see that your business is thriving. You find yourself online speaking with confidence, speaking bravely and courageously and authentically from your heart, telling stories, sharing life experiences, and giving that valuable content that you know. You're excited. You're relaxed. You know exactly what you want to say and how you want to say it. And you feel a deep sense of fulfillment, that you are doing what you love, that you are sharing your expertise, that you are making a difference as a leader and an educator. Observe how great that feels and see that you have lots of money in your bank account, that you're profitable. You've got plenty of money to pay your bills, and you know you've got more money coming in. You've presented packages to your clients and they're excited to take you up on them. Your whole life is filled with joy and peace, vitality, and satisfaction. You have loving friends and relationships, and you know you are doing what you were meant to do. Now take a deep breath. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So what's that feel like for you? Put in the chat. Tell me what it feels like to have those things. Tell me what's going on that you are excited about. You have the opportunity now, because you're here, you're taking advantage of Jay's Summit. You have the opportunity now to play at a higher level than you ever have before. You have unique wisdom and expertise, and you can bring it online, and share value with others. You can do more to make a difference. Everything these days is going online. You're a successful professional. You want to bring value to the world. You want to be effective, and you want to sell well and make a difference. I'm very excited to invite you into my premier course, online training, group training, Ignite Your Online Speaking Success. Look and sound your best on camera. So maybe this is you. Maybe you're excited, but the idea of presenting is overwhelming and nerve-wracking. You're normally confident, but when you speak online, anxiety undermines you. You read your PowerPoint slides instead of adding value by engaging your viewers. You deliver your information clearly, but you just don't convert. You don't sell. You don't enroll your viewers. Then it's time for you to shift from nerves to being effective online, selling well, and making a difference. Here's what you can expect from this 6-week course. It's 1 session a week for 6 weeks. As an effective presenter, you make money. You enroll clients. On any online call or webinar, your confidence adds value. You excite your audience. You've got a powerful opening and a strong call to action. You address their pain points. You use testimonials and meaningful stories to add credibility and to illustrate your key points. Stories are very, very, very important. You actually enjoy being online. So Ignite Your Online Speaking Success is for you if you're ready to start presenting online, advance in your career, grow your business, serve higher end clients, and authentically provide value. Here is what is included in this course. And I would just ask that everybody mute themselves if they haven't done that. Session 1 is why your message is needed today more than ever. And here's the most important thing you can do when you're speaking, is you do not focus on yourself. You always focus on the audience and what the audience needs. You want to instantly learn how to capture their attention. You've got 30 seconds, those first 30 seconds, or else they're gone. You want to intrigue the audience from the beginning. And then you want to mold your speech with valuable content and signature stories. Signature stories are those stories that are only yours. You know, the Snow White story about my name, nobody else can tell that story because nobody else has those 3 things that are true in their lives. You want a story that's uniquely yours. You want to harness the power of your voice. There's a huge mistake that most often women make, which can destroy your credibility. You want your audience to lean in and get excited about what you're about to say. And you want to master your audio visual so that it doesn't master you. I'll show you how to set up a powerhouse home studio without spending a lot of money, including lights and mics, virtual backgrounds, and more. You'll learn about what to do with PowerPoint, what not to do with PowerPoint. You'll learn to have in your back pocket ways to laugh at yourself when things go wrong. Because let's face it, folks, things go wrong. I can't tell you how many things have gone wrong through the years as a speaker. One place where I was speaking in the northern part of the United States, every single time I would pick up my mic and start speaking, it would make a horrible, very loud noise to the entire audience because a truck would go by. And I even had an AV specialist in the room. Things will go wrong. So what did I do? I took off the microphone and I had to raise my voice to project. We'll show you how to handle things that go wrong, how to get your audience engaged. I've asked you to do several things during this presentation. That's how you keep your audience engaged and keep them part of this. And then session 6 is never let them see you sweat. Yes, things will go wrong, but how do you handle it? How do you fire people up? Louisa, you had talked about being afraid, converting that fear into passion and excitement and being fired up. You can do that in a heartbeat because I can hear how excited you are about being an aerobics instructor and sharing what you know. Connect authentically to people. So what's included in this course? This is a $2,800 value. I normally sell it for $1,297. But for the next 4 days until November 24th, it's on sale for $997. You get 6 power-packed 1-hour interactive webinars and recordings with me to help you sell online, be effective, add value, and make a difference. You'll go through those sessions we just talked about your message, about capturing attention, holding their attention, crafting your content, harnessing the power of your voice, and how to overcome it when things go wrong. There's also an online private Facebook group where you'll be able to share with other participants, form new friendships, ask questions, and you'll have email access to me for questions and help. If you enroll by the 23rd, the quick decision bonus is that you get an hour of coaching with me after you have prepared a 15-minute segment. And you send me that video clip and I will go through it and analyze it with you and show you step by step how you can get better. That's just between me and you. So it's your own personal private coaching. You also will get my Find Your Happiness and Dramatically Improve Your Business Success package. Normally it's sold for $297. It would be free for you if you sign up by the enrollment period. These are 5 different MP3 recordings with actionable content, a 12-page workbook to show you how to be happier in every aspect of your life, to help you regain your joy and expand your optimism. The free report, the top 20 tips to get and stay fired up, and a free chapter from my book, Stress Express, 15 instant stress relievers on optimism, because optimism is key to your success. Kelly Youngs runs a global community called She is Fierce, and she shares here that the coaching that Snowden does is nothing short of amazing. I've seen her coach women who are already good speakers and make them incredible. I've also seen her coach a monotone speaker and teach her speech structure, vocal variety, and storytelling, so moving that the audience cried. Time and again, she helps women soar to the next level. Her caring approach, coupled with specific strategies and her fired up enthusiasm, all add up to astonishing results. You'll learn so much from her. I was deeply touched by Kelly's endorsement. So if you're fired up and ready to be effective online, provide value every time, sell your products and services, and make a difference, then I invite you to this transformational online training. You understand with your investment, you'll get $2,800 worth of content and tips and materials and assessments. You'll get a 6 1-hour interactive webinars and recordings. You'll get an online Facebook group. And if you act by the end of the day, November 23rd, you'll also get the private one-on-one coaching with me and the Find Your Happiness kit. There are 3 ways you can do this, and more people are using payment plans. You click here and the PayPal subscribe one will allow you to pay $350 now, $350 in January, $350 in February. Your best deal is to pay in full $997. And then the easy full pay is if you Now sign up and pay $400. Within 21 days, you pay $597. If you have questions, you can email me at snowden@firedupnow.com. So I just want to talk to you about how powerful you can be and what you can do. As promised, I've shared with you the do's and don'ts of how to be on Zoom and how to speak online. I've talked to you about how important it is to be authentic and real, and how to set up yourself for success so that your Zoom work is effective. And now I want to share with you, as I promised, the two biggest mistakes to avoid. The first one is death by PowerPoint. And so we've all been subject to that. You know what it's like. It's when somebody is giving you their PowerPoint presentation and the whole time they're reading their slides like this, and it's so boring. You don't want to do that. You want to use as few PowerPoint slides as possible. You want to use them to put funny accents on, like I did with my Zoom slide, to show testimonials, and to have some key bulleted points. You want to make sure that your PowerPoint has a dark background and you use light white type. White background is tough for people to read, so you want a dark background. And you want to use 36-point type. And lots of pictures. Lots and lots of pictures, because that's what people look at. People look first at photos, then they look at headlines, then they look at bullets. That's a marketing strategy, always been used for a long, long time. So in an hour's presentation, you might have maybe 12 PowerPoint slides, maybe. You want to be focusing and talking to the audience just like I am right now. And going back to my PowerPoint, I've shared with you about not memorizing. By the way, this is the link if you already know, for those of you who already know you want to get better and learn how to speak online, this is the link for you to go to, firedupnow.com/on-camera-image/. So firedupnow.com/on-camera-image. Everybody stand up for a second, if you would, for a minute. I've got you standing up again. Some of you said that you were afraid to be online, and I think that's a really common thing when you're speaking, is you get to be afraid. I want to give you a strategy right now that's going to help you overcome any fear, any negative self-talk, anything that is not serving you when you get ready to speak. Put your hands on your hips, make your feet be 1.5 feet apart, and bend your knees. And put your chest out. So this is Wonder Woman or Superman pose. Wonder Woman or Superman pose. Very good. That's great, Louisa. Thanks for showing yourself and showing me you. So here's the research. Some of you may be familiar with the work of sociologist Amy Cuddy. When you stand in this posture for 2 minutes, you change the chemistry of your brain. You actually shift from fear and cortisol, which is the stress hormone, into serotonin, the feel-good hormone. And your body chemistry becomes much more positive and confident. And here's how they knew this worked. They did a blind study. They had somebody observing all these different people coming in to get a job interview. In the case of every single person who did Wonder Woman Superman pose for 2 minutes before they came into the interview, the observer noted that those people seemed more confident and recommended that they get hired. Every single one of them. You can find her talk on TED Talks. You can get out of posture now. I just want you to be aware of Wonder Woman, Superman. That's something that you can do anytime that you are feeling nervous, before you go into any kind of sales meeting, before you go into any kind of presentation online. Think of Wonder Woman, Superman, and you can shift. I do this myself. I've been speaking for 25 years. I do this myself, and I still go into Wonder Woman, Superman, because I want to be as confident as possible for you. The second mistake to avoid is forgetting to use stories. Stories are the currency of memory. Throughout all of history, stories have been passed down from generation to generation to generation. When people look back on your presentations, when they look back on speeches, they remember stories. I've had people come up to me in the airport and say, "Hey, Snow White." People remember stories. So you want to craft stories from your life experience and from the experiences of those you work with in such a way that you get maximum impact. And even if the story is very, very sad, you bring them back up with hope. I remember coaching a speaker who had been in the military, and this gentleman told me this incredibly gut-wrenching story from being in the armed forces and in war. And then he stopped talking, and I said, "Wait a minute, is that how you end the story?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, No. We're all upset right now. You've got to end the story with hope. So you've got to bring them back up. And never have yourself be the hero of every story. It's okay to have a couple stories where you're the hero, but make the stories be about the other people. Every one of the clients that I have shared with you, they're the heroes. They're the ones who are making a difference. They're the ones who are applying it. April Schoen. April is a financial planner. When she came to me, she was very shy. She wasn't sure how she was going to market herself with COVID, what she was going to do. And she shifted so beautifully. We started the idea of her putting on webinars to educate people, just offering value. And she had tons of information to share. But she hadn't incorporated vocal variety or stories. And now she says she has people clamoring to get into these webinars, and she has people actually contact her and say, "You know, that story you told about Mr. and Mrs. Johnson really impressed me, or really made me think about what I need to do with my financial plans." Stories are powerful. Stories are what help people connect with you. I had a young woman come to me for help with speaking, and I had set aside my typical hour. This was when we could actually see people in person. And she came in and she sat down and she was starting to tell me her story. And she said, "I'm really worried that I'll be way too emotional in my story." And I said, "So tell me, what are you going to say?" And she poured out an incredible story. She was a successful woman who had been in the armed forces. She had set herself up, was doing well in business. She was working for somebody else and she was doing very well. But her parents had been divorced when she was a young age. And like many of us, she had a gap inside. She had a void inside of her. And she was missing her father. And she got associated with a minister in Atlanta. And he kidnapped her. And he put her in a basement for a year. and he had her sign over her life insurance to him. And he slowly started poisoning her so that her body was starting to fall apart. And she would go out each day and work in a fast food restaurant, give him all of the money because, of course, he had brainwashed her at this point, and come home, and then he would poison her some more. Thank God, one day when she was out, she called her mother, whom she had not seen in years. Could you mute yourselves, please? Someone who she had not seen her mother in years, and asked her to come pick her up. And her mother picked her up, and she spent a year in the hospital recovering because every single organ was shutting down from the poison that she'd been given. Now that's a pretty powerful story, but the good news is she came out of it. She survived it. And now today she is in law school. She finished her degree, she's in law school, and she's becoming an attorney to help others. And she speaks primarily to children and in churches around the country, sharing her story. And she said, what happens if I cry? So this is a little different from Dawn, who was crying because she was nervous. She says, what happens if I cry in my story? I said, go ahead and cry, because people in the audience will be crying too. And they do. And she makes an incredible difference. She called me after the first speech that she gave, and she said, I cried a little bit, and there were people in the audience crying, but she said, but I had 3 little kids come up to me afterwards and tell me their story, and I was able to help them get help. It was worth everything. Stories are powerful. Now, I know for many of you, nerves can be the issue. Here are 2 instant nerve calmers. Put your hands right now on your lower belly. That's that part of yourself that probably most all of us judge as being too big. So put your hands on your lower belly and breathe. Breathe. Take in a deep breath, hold it for 3, and then let it out. Do it again. And then let it out. One more time. And then let it out. Your breath is the key to releasing nerves. You can always pause at any point and just breathe. So many of us feel like we have to fill in every space between our key points. So we use transition things that are not effective, like, you know, and so, then. Instead, do this. Just stop talking. Pause between key points. Breathe. Take time for yourself. Before you go on, remember your why. It's always my intention to serve and to make a difference. So I always pray and meditate before I go on, and I always ask to be a clear vessel so that whatever needs to come through me to assist and help you happens. So connect with your why. Why are you here? Why are you doing what you're doing? What is it that you're sharing with others? And what's the impact you're going to have? So how many of you would like a free, done for you checklist of how to prepare yourself to speak online? Anybody want that? Raise your hands if you want that. Yes, I'm seeing some people raising their hands who are showing themselves. So here's what I would like you to do. I would like you to send me an email that is addressed to connect@firedupnow.com. connect@firedupnow.com. And I will email you the done for you checklist. And this is absolutely free. And it's a couple pages long, and it's just little check boxes that you can go through and use over and over and over again when you're speaking. And out of that group of people who responds, because I know we have people watching on the video as well, out of that group of people who responds, I will pick 5 people to do a complimentary coaching session. 5 people I will pick to do a complimentary coaching session. And so you have the opportunity to get the free done for you online speaking checklist just by sending an email to connect@firedupnow.com. And then you might be one of the lucky ones to have a free coaching session. For those of you who know absolutely you want the in-depth training to be more effective online, to sell more, to increase your confidence and to handle all your AV, to connect with the power of your voice, this is the link. And I want to close with a story. Years ago, I was going through my mail and out popped a peach invitation. And it read, "You are cordially invited to the First Southern Circle in commemoration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. birthday weekend, along with Nobel Peace Prize laureates John Hume from Northern Ireland, Archbishop Desmond Tutu from South Africa, Coretta Scott King, and Ambassador Andrew Young." Now, have you ever gotten an invitation to something you thought, me? Why do they want me to go? Well, that's how I felt. I was thrilled and I was delighted. And you have to understand that I was raised in the southern part of the United States, in the midst of the civil rights movement. And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was one of my personal heroes. So I was living in New England at the time, and I responded with a resounding yes. And I went to Atlanta. And what happened there touched me forever. Leah Tutu, Desmond Tutu's wife, was incredibly gracious and lovely, and she was being honored at a luncheon of about 75 people. And when she got up to stage, she turned coyly and said, "Darling, how does it feel to have me be the one getting the award?" We were all thrilled for her, as he was. John Hume, who you may have seen on CNN as being very stern and serious and delivering a very stern and serious message, was a teddy bear. He walked around the cocktail party with a copy of my Fired Up book and flashed it up from his pocket every time I saw him. He was nervous. Imagine that, a diplomat nervous. We all get nervous. He was nervous. And then he delivered his very stern and serious message. And when he came out, he said, "How'd I do? How'd I do?" He was delightful. And his family was there with him. And then the person who moved me irrevocably was Archbishop Desmond Tutu. While describing atrocities that you and I can never begin to imagine in our worst nightmare, he did so with such incredible love and compassion and forgiveness that I knew I was in the presence of greatness, just as I am right now. Inside each of you is the fire of life. That fire is your mission. It's your passion. It's your vision. It's your fulfillment. When you're fired up, doing what you love, when you're sharing your expertise and wisdom, your natural enthusiasm is contagious and it ignites the fire in others. When you're fired up using the tools and techniques and strategies you have, and you're able to move forward and share value, educate, lead, serve, you're making a huge difference. So my wish for you is that you take everything we've discussed today and together, let's set the world on fire. Thank you.
Thank you, Snowden. That was fantastic. I shed a tear, I won't lie. Desmond Tutu is one of my, I've worked with him for about 14 years, well, 11 years on the Amy Beale Foundation. And as you say, truly a man of greatness. But thank you for the greatness that you've shared with us today. So before I launch into questions, I see Anita has her hand up. She put her little electronic hand up. Anita, are you still here and wanting to ask Snowden a question before I... Oh. So tell me in the chat box, guys, how was that? Did you learn something new that you could take away and use showing up online literally right away? That's what I want to know. Because these were such easy to implement tactical and practical strategies. You don't need 30 years or 25 years of experience. And that's really the benefit of a summit like this, with speakers like this, is that you do what I call bend time. You save yourself 25 years of having to learn by an instant learning from someone who's got 25 years of experience to bring to the table. So Snowden, thank you for helping us collapse time and save ourselves the embarrassment of showing up in stripes and as a floating head on a blue background and all that good stuff. I won't lie, I think I've not only suffered death by PowerPoint, I may even have inflicted it over my career. I think I had one presentation which was an hour long and had 104 slides.
Oh my.
Yeah, when I look back, I'm like, but you know what, guys, you've got to do it and you've got to make those mistakes and you've got to keep showing up. That's what I'm going to keep telling you through this entire summit is keep showing up. Thank you, guys. Any questions for Snowden before she loves and leaves us? Guys, I have dropped the links to where you can find Snowden in the chat. I have included the email link for her freebie. So make use of that, contact her and get those coaching sessions. All right, anybody? Thank you. Kelly Way says, thanks for useful information, empowering and enrolling. Yes, good word, Louisa, enrolling. Enrolling is so important. Thanks, guys. Snowden, thank you. Thank you a million times over. We appreciate it.